All right. Last but not least, a panel, a very important panel, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I won't say what my answer is, but is hip hop helping or hurting the Black community? Wow. Interesting. All right, well, we're gonna have a panel on it, so please welcome to the stage our moderator, Anomaly. Mike Ayatewa, Major Williams, and Will Johnson to discuss it. Interesting response. You should be in this one.
All right. That's the better one, so. Or Will got the better one. Either way.
You guys might have to share that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, well, thank you guys for being here. Give a round of applause for everybody tonight. This is great. I really like connecting with you guys and seeing everyone in person, but we're talking about hip-hop now. I want to start it out before I ask my questions. I want to say hip-hop culture, it started, I don't know the year, I should have wrote it down, but it started as good vibes. It was dancing over break beats, a lot of b-boying, a lot of good energy, and it's taken a huge shift in many different directions, some good, some bad. That's what we're talking about today, but I think it gets lost a lot in the sauce that it didn't start how it was. Nothing did it evolved, but first question is, what do you guys think is the positive impacts of hip-hop culture? I know I got to start on the positive always, so.
Are we going this way?
Yeah, we'll go
all right.
We'll start with the positive, then we'll get into all the other stuff.
So the positive part, of course, in my personal opinion, starts with the positive messaging and the positive imaging that hip-hop has done for a lot of the culture. So when you see people who are like conscious rappers, when you see people who are doing good deeds in these videos and stuff like that, those aspects are something that resonated with me early on. And just like I said, just the positive lyrics, clean lyrics that was had something to do with like progression and unity and stuff like that, without doing it to down women and different things of that nature.
Yeah, that's the next question, so we're going to get into that. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I guess positives are, like you were saying, just the original intent of it. I think there's been a lot of perversion in the hip-hop community, just with the music. I'm Christian, so my main hip-hop influence was from rappers like Lecrae and Andy Mineo. But when it came to just hip-hop in general, I have a very negative view of hip-hop.
No, we're going to get there. I always have to start it on a positive, so I know you guys are ready to go in on it. I'm like, what do you love about it, though?
You know, hip-hop for me, it has turned negative, but in the beginning it was positive. I used to listen to, like, Boogie Down Bronx, you know, Big Daddy Kane, you know, all the old heads like that. That's when hip-hop used to mean something. They had a message until they twisted it. But it was positive. I don't want to get ahead of your questions. But one thing I like to do, you know, hip-hop, one thing by hip-hop, you can stand up and say, how you feeling? Are you happy? Who's your president? Okay. Sorry, I had to. Thank you.
Yeah, hip-hop changed my life. I do hip-hop. It actually brought me out to LA. A lot of people are like, Anomaly, shut up, just talk about politics, don't rap. But if I didn't rap, it wouldn't have brought me out here. So there's definitely some good aspects, but not for the question you guys want to hear. What are the negative aspects in your perspective of hip-hop culture?
I think the fact that a lot of young kids look at a lot of these rappers in regards to what they put out there image-wise and music-wise is one of the negative effects. And honestly, I had to grow into that myself as well, especially becoming a parent. You become more aware, you get more mature, and you begin to listen with a different ear, so to speak. You start to look through a different lens. And once you identify that, you be like, would I want my son to have those kind of inappropriate actions that's going to end him up in a certain place or in detention in school and stuff like that? And so, you know, I just think it's evolved. And I will say this, though. Even like some of the hardcore gangster hip-hop music, some of those things inspired me in different ways and didn't necessarily inspire me to go and kill anyone. It gave me a different kind of energy. In reverse, it made me want to work hard if I was playing sports or working out or doing work. It gave me that effect as well. But I don't think that's universal, and it has to change.
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved Eminem growing up, and now I listen to him. I'm like, this guy's a psychopath. I don't. This guy's insane. Literally, he's like talking about like eating his wife and stuff. You're like, oh my God, how did I listen to this when I was 15? It's insane. Mike, what do you think?
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I think the main thing is just the current hip hop culture, the negativity from it gives a very unrealistic expectation on young black men to become music artists. I can't tell you, I've moved to LA recently, and I can't tell you how many young men my age that I know that I've met and talked to personally, and every single one of them wants to be a hip hop artist. You know, they don't want to be doctors, they don't want to be engineers, they don't want to be, you know, going to a trade school, they want to be rap artists or hip hop artists, and we all know that's very, very slim. The chances of you making it is very, very slim. Another thing is just the toxic, it's like, you guys saw the Gillette ad, right? Right? Okay, so Gillette should have made an ad about the hip hop community, because if toxic masculinity exists, it's in the hip hop and rap culture. Why are we surprised about the Me Too movement when hip hop and rap culture were leading it? Why are we surprised by R. Kelly? Why are we surprised by, you know, these black leaders coming out sexually assaulting women in the workplace? We shouldn't be surprised at that, because the hip hop culture was right there leading it with Hollywood.
I want to talk about real quick, we'll go to Will. I go to Marcy, Brooklyn, not so much anymore, but I used to. I'm from New Jersey, and there's this kid there, thank you guys. There's this kid there named Ronald. He's like 11, 12 years old. You know, his parents, he just kind of roams around. Super smart kid, and I bought him a camera. I just sent it out to Brooklyn, and he changed his name on Facebook to Coke Boy Ronald after French Montana, which is the Coke Boys. I appreciate French Montana's music. You know, I love them, but it's like, this is the effect it's having on the kids in Brooklyn, excuse me. And it was just sad to me to see an 11-year-old or 12-year-old change his name to Coke Boy. And I think even if you are a rapper, like a lot of these rappers say, I don't even do these drugs, you got to think about the effect, like all of us do, what we have on people. And I don't think they take it very seriously.
You know, one thing about hip hop, they've taken hip hop and they've weaponized it. You know, even in politics, you have Snoop Dogg coming out talking about F Trump, and you know, I used to like Snoop Dogg, you know, the West Side, you know, but I just lost all respect for him when he started turning into talking about President Trump instead of just making music. You know, so the negativity, they're using it to manipulate our children, and one way to do that quickly is through music and hip hop.
Absolutely. I want to say, too, to people trying to red pill hip-hop artists, they all love guns, and I think they don't like taxes. So I try to say to all my rap friends, I'm like, do you like taxes? Do you like when the government steals your money? No. Do you like guns? Yes. Then why do you vote Democrat? Why aren't you Republican? We got you. What are you doing? They want to take your guns. Very easy. How big of an impact does hip-hop culture have on the black community, and what impacts do you see it having on your communities?
I think it has a huge impact. You know, just from just how people cultivate and follow, just from a culture standpoint. You know, when you go to concerts, and you see how people are so receptive to the music, and they're really into it, they're into the vibrations of it, and then you look at the messaging behind it too. And what happens is there's complexities when it comes to hip hop. Even now, if you think about it, you know, you may have a hardcore beat, but in the midst of all those lyrics, there are still some good jewels in that as well too. And so that makes it hard to really bash it 100%. Because we are, as people, we're not ignorant, we're not dumb, right? And so naturally 100% of us not going to go out and do a certain act when it comes to that. But the ramifications, as you said, you know, for easily impressionable kids, it's a different story, especially coming from kids that have nothing else to pull from as far as imagery. I remember growing up, we didn't have a lot of imagery of good things happening. And I was telling my wife this. I said, one of the biggest things that I did in high school that was, and I'm sorry for taking so long, but I want to say this, is that what made me successful or feel successful in high school was how many women I slept with or girls I slept with for the year. And that stemmed from music and the collective people that I was hanging around that was listening to the same music. And so it was very negatively effective that I had to get past that years and years later that I had to deal with that. So it was a real negative effect, but it had good things, but it definitely had some negative effects that now, as a grown man, I was able to look at and say, it was horrible.
No, you're right. I love Jay-Z. I know people here, I don't like his politics, but he has a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And people try to say, oh, he's talking about paintings now. But he's like, I'm rich. I like paintings. Like, what?
Right.
I
Right.
appreciate that. It's like it's better to talk about paintings
Evolution.
than killing someone. Mike.
Yeah, I think I'll just go back to what I was saying before, where it just gives this unrealistic expectation, to become a hip hop artist, especially like Major was saying, people, these impressionable kids who they don't have good black leaders out there right now, especially like now we have Candace Owens, Candace Owens,
Whoa.
Brandon Tatum.
Shout out Candace.
But for the
Pressure.
most part, it's like we have, Beyonce, Jay-Z, all these people, they're the black figures that these black kids are seeing the most. So they want to become like them and be like them, which is a very slim chance. And we know that to overcome, oppression, hardship, whatever your circumstance is, we know it's, get an education, graduate high school, don't have a baby till you're married for the most part, and, keep a job. And the hip hop community is not pushing that because if you drop out of school, to make music, that's all you do, or hip hop promotes the glorification of sex. So like Major was saying, how many girls did I sleep with this year? And then so how many baby mamas do we have? We have tons. The single motherhood rate is 70%. And I think that's directly correlated with hip hop culture.
Good answer. Will.
One thing I should have said in the beginning during the positive part is we need more people like Kanye.
Hey.
I mean, seriously, Kanye is in a position where he can reach a lot of people, a lot of these kids, and that's a positive note. On the negative note, we have people like Ice Cube, where he originally came out with saying everyone wanted to be like Trump. He admitted to it. Now he's coming out with a song against President Trump, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard the other song with, the song, the F Trump, F Donald Trump. Has a good tune to it, good beat to it, but the kids relate to it because, they're being told a certain narrative, and it's manipulating people. And personally, like, I'm a religious man. I believe in God, and I say it loud, in the name of Jesus. And I don't have a problem saying that either. They are using hip-hop to manipulate, and it's Satan that is doing this. We are in a different time in this different nation where people don't even recognize it in the spiritual war, and hip-hop is a tool that they are using to manipulate and destroy the people's minds.
Amen. And the left wants to take your guns, rappers. Why do you support them? They want to take your guns. My goodness. I was reading a passage from history, and I was reading Booker T. Washington, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is smarter than everybody of every race today. I'm like, did we get dumber? On that note, from leaders like Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, MLK, Malcolm X, and others, how did Black America get to its current state of what it means to be black in pop culture? And is hip hop a part of that?
Whoa.
I got heaters. Candace lobbed it up. I had to come with the dunk.
Okay, so I'm gonna treat this like a spelling bee. Bear with me. Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sorry. I'll just get past the little coding at the beginning. How did Black America get to its current state of what it means to be black in pop culture? Because now if you talk to people, they'll call you names if you're not black. So how did it get to that point of like what it means to be black, and is hip hop a part of that?
Lifeline. You know what? I truly don't have a good answer on that. Like, honestly. I don't.
We may never know, but I got some heaters, so get ready.
Yeah, that was a great question. But, yeah, I'm
We'll go
gonna
to Mike.
piggyback off of what Mark said.
Yeah, no.
All right, we'll come back.
Mike, am I scaring everyone, or you got heat?
That was a juggernaut.
Like the leaders that like Booker T. Washington, like did we get dumber? And I honestly think as a culture we have, it's, and obviously we're talking about hip hop, so hip hop has a huge influence in it. And like I was saying, if you're not going to school to become a doctor, why don't we have more black men as doctors, black women as doctors? Why don't we have more black men as engineers? Why is it that they're all hip hop artists? Like, that doesn't make sense. There's other professions. So it's like, how is it that Frederick Douglass could become a freed slave, teach himself how to read the Bible and the Constitution, and come to the conclusion himself, as an individual, as a free thinker, that the Constitution and the Bible is for the black man. But yet we have young black men today who are incapable of doing that. So if we're not educating ourselves and we're not seeking leaders, like I said, Candace Owens, great leader for the black community. Brandon Tatum, great leader for the black community. People who are not great leaders, Sean King, Maxine Waters, R. Kelly. These are not good black leaders. Charlie Kirk is a better black leader than Sean King for the black community.
That's white chocolate.
He's more black than Sean King.
That's going to be in CNN tomorrow, that
Yes.
headline. He said that.
So I can kind of touch on that. So my opinion is that black people are being told not to be better. And that's what's happening in the community. I don't know how many of you have seen this meme where there's a black guy, he has on a cape and gown, he just graduated, and then there's another black guy looking like a thug, and he said, "You trying to be white." I mean, I've heard that throughout my life because I don't speak or act a certain way. I'm trying to be white. And I'm like, how do you try to be white? But so they're in the community, it's making it difficult for people to try to excel when they're telling them not to. And that's going in the black community at an alarming rate. And it's terrible. I mean, to the point to where, I'm on social media a little bit, and and I've had white liberals tell me that I don't know what it's like to be black. And I'm like, I don't get it. So it's a mindset. And like I said a minute ago, we are in a spiritual war, and they are on the attack, and we've got to wake up to it.
Absolutely.
Amen.
People like Brandis and Candace, they hate the fact that they're self-accountable, self-responsible, strong, empowered, and they love this country, and they can't stand that. It's a huge threat to them, because if you're all of those things, you're not easily manipulated. On that note, man, that was a good segue. Do you feel like this progression of black culture is natural, or do you feel like it's been engineered and manipulated from where we've gone? Even, you guys talk about the rates of families staying together and stuff like. Do you think it's a natural progression, or it's been like manipulated in some form?
In regards to the music?
Just like, I guess, more like black culture. Because even say like in the 50s, 60s, you have rock music, and then you had, like, black culture has impacted a lot of stuff. And even hip hop was born out of dancing and, good vibes. Like then it just changed. And then everybody thought what it meant to be black was that one thing that you guys are speaking out against. So do you think that was like a natural progression, or it was?
I think, like, for a lot of music artists that I talked to, especially in the past, like, you can look at the type of music artists, they're under a lot of pressure, because even with the record labels, they can't get signed by certain record labels because they don't make certain types of music. So you may have artists that start out, they're making this great music, they're impactful, they have good stage presence, they look good, they do sit-ups, they got six-packs, they have the muscles, they have all these great tangible things until it doesn't happen for them until they dye their hair, they put piercings all over, tattoos on their face, and then they say, "Oh, you're good," right? And so psychologically, that can be very damaging, right? So there's a lot of artists, it's harder for them to create those imageries that we are looking for, that we're yearning for. And honestly, a lot of these artists that we see that are making this kind of music, they are good guys. That's why when you see all these different World Star videos and somebody run up on them, they're not as gangster as they really say, right? They're running for their lives because they're like, they're not that tough. But they're creating the music that these machines are telling them that they need to make in order for them to be successful at their craft.
Great point. That's a great point. I got a little bit of history real quick. Grandmaster Caz, he's an OG in the hip hop community. Grandmaster Caz, he actually got the first song, the hip hop, hippie to hop. He wrote that. They stole it. They didn't even change the lyrics where they say his own name in the lyrics. They stole the song. He actually said that once NWA and stuff came out, that they weren't trying to look for conscious rappers like himself. They were like, do this, or it's not probably going to work out for you. So that's a good point. Mike.
Yeah, I definitely think it's orchestrated. I think hip-hop culture now teaches, again, young black men to be niggas. and there's a difference between a black man and a nigga. And white plantation owners used to they had a saying, they said, if you teach a nigger how to read, he's no longer a nigger. And when it comes to the black community and the provocation of education, are we getting education like I'm saying? Where are the black doctors? Where are the black engineers? Where are, the black whatever? Why aren't we have more black men? Black women are actually doing pretty good, a lot better than black men. Shout out to the black women. But black men, I think black men is what is keeping the black community down, because they're not present, they're not there. And until we understand the difference between a black man and a nigga, until the black community grasps that and say, well, I'm a black man. If someone calls me that, I've looked at them and I said, do not call me that. I am not that. I am a black man.
I think it is by design. Even when, the Democrat Party was started, by design, LBJ came out and said he's going to have every nigger voting Democrat within 200 years, and did it within 60. That was by design to keep black people down. Just like they're using hip-hop to keep black people down, it's all by design. Just like now, in the year 2019, the new design from the Democrat Party is to go after white people. And they're even doing it in hip-hop. They're not excluding it from hip-hop. But they're demonizing white people as if white people are the problem in this country, specifically white men. I'm pretty sure you've all heard it. So it is all by design for them to control people and manipulate people as much as possible.
Good answer. A society with strong men who want to keep the first two amendments, that's not what they want. What message would you like to hear more in rap music that you don't hear enough?
I think one of the good messages that's happening now is the boom of entrepreneurship. So the fact that you have a lot of different rappers that are starting to, in certain small backpack areas, are starting to talk about entrepreneurship, that are actually talking about education, but also talking about unity. I want to start hearing more records and music that talks about unity and talks about actually putting towards actions. Like, you can talk about the facade and the fantasy of things, but I also want to see them start talking about things on how they actually put things in actions to make a plan and actually create the action from their plan as well, too. I think that a lot of times when you hear a lot of music, it's just like rah, 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 it's clubs, it's dancing or whatever. But I wouldn't be mad if I heard some records that actually, help them start a business.
Definitely, yeah. There's some, but it's like some of these concerts,
It's
it's like
rare.
take
It's
pills and
rare.
kill yourself, take
Yeah.
pills and kill yourself. And they're like, we have a huge opioid problem and a suicide problem. I wonder why. You got 100,000 kids talk about killing themselves. This shit's ridiculous. Sorry, am I not supposed to curse? Candace is laughing, we're good, all right.
What I think black hip hop needs is God. I think it needs a message of hope. Like I said, I'm a Christian, so I grew up listening to Lecrae, Andy Mineo. Just if the black community continues to push God out of its core, it will continue to fall. And it's funny, I was at the Women's March, and me and David J. Harris were, debating some black liberal girls, and Candace has even talked about this as well when she was speaking at Dillard University. And it's like there's this illusion of morality within the black community where it's like, oh, F Trump, they were saying F Trump, but then they were also saying love Trump's hate. And it's like, whoa, well, you're saying you want to preach love, but then you're saying F Trump, and then you're harassing me and David. And it's like, I don't understand that. And it's also, okay, you hate Trump, you think he's immoral. It's like, what about your morality? Why is the single motherhood rate 70%? You don't like the way the white man raises his family? Are you raising your family? It's things like that. And if we don't put messages of hope and God and love back in our music that challenges our morality, challenges you to look at yourself and say, okay, what am I doing as a person? If we don't do that, then you can't move forward as not just a society, but as an individual.
What I would like to hear more in hip-hop is I want to hear how beautiful and how strong women are. That's what I want to hear. I went to the Me Too movement yesterday, and you know they're all about women, and they want to exclude men. But in the hip hop songs, you don't ever hear them saying, you know, I think women personally should be put on a pedestal. I think women are the best thing that happened to man on this planet, and that's what we should hear more in hip hop. Because I'll tell you this much: I don't want to be on a planet without women. I don't know about you. I'm talking about hell on earth. I'm not going to work tomorrow. Just straight up. But seriously, I want to hear, you know, and not be nice about it. A lot of people gravitate to hip hop songs when they're like being all tough and, you know, they're in the streets and doing this. How about we be tough for the men and women in this country? How about we be tough for the police department? How about we be tough for the military? How about we be tough for the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump? That's what we should be. We should be tough for each other. And mostly, we should be tough for Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Will's dropping bars there. They hate the American flag now. It's like a hate symbol because no matter your race, religion, or gender, if you're an American citizen, that's something we can all come under. That's why they hate it so much. So, man, Will dropping heaters here. Last question. Thank you guys so much for the love. How can we help steer, not steal. We don't want to rob them, but how can we help steer Black culture, hip hop music, and all the people who follow it in the right direction? How can we do that?
I think it starts with just us advocating to do that. Like, we know all the artists. Like, we all collectively know people who do music. I just think we need to start advocating for that and tell them that we're going to support them. That's the biggest thing. Like, let them know that you are going to support them 100% if this is what they're going to be doing, and advocate. Share their music, buy their music, tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. Have your family members involved. Show up to their shows, buy their tickets, buy their merchandise. Because if they don't, like, they're going to run back to the same systems that are okay with it being the way it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and people like J. Cole really do well. You know, people love J. Cole. So even us, like, when we do well, it shows that you can actually tell the truth and do well. So, Black Mike. I said Black Mike. That's a synonym.
I think honesty. I think we need to be honest with ourselves and people we know who want to be hip hop artists. I think it's fine. If you have a dream, you know, if you have something you want to do and you're good at it, go ahead, do it. I have friends, and I'm sure you have friends who, you know, make music. You know, they're trying to push their mixtape. Be honest with them. If it's crap, tell them it's crap. Don't lie to them. I have friends who they've given me crap, and I tell them, like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. And if they really want it, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna go get better. If that's, because that's what happens when no one starts off just the best at something. If music is truly their passion, and you're really being a friend and criticizing them, you know, the Bible says, like, iron sharpens iron. You're sharpening them to be better. Then they will go back, work harder, educate themselves on what they're doing, and they'll come back and say, hey, what about this? I'm like, oh, this is definitely better. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And they'll take it, and they'll listen to that. People who don't do that, they have, like I was saying before, unrealistic expectations of trying to be a hip-hop artist.
Will, I know you're going to end with a banger. I know you got it in you. How can we steer it in the right direction?
You know, one thing that we can do, and I try to do this myself, is I support Kanye. And that's one thing we can do. And we need to do that. I support Kanye. I support Candace. I support Charlie Kirk. I support Brandon Tatum. I support Turning Point USA. By us supporting each other, that's putting out positive messages is how we do it. But it's going to take all of us as a community. You know, the left always talking about the community. It is. It's going to take us as a community that is righteous to do it.
That's right. That's all we got. Thank you guys so much. You guys showed up and showed out like he's talking about. God bless you. God bless America. God bless your family. And God bless the world. Thank y'all.